Hey guys, we're here again today at Hardracing, working on our Yamaha R3 project bike, and today we're going to be doing a few accessories that plug into the Dyno Jet Power Commander. And these accessories are going to be the Quick Shifter and the Autotune. And the Quick Shifter basically plugs in line with your shift shaft, and that sensor there will pick up the movement of your foot shifting. It'll send a signal to the power commander to cut the fuel and spark for a split second, which will allow you to do wide open throttle clutchless shifting. For road racers, it's pretty much a given. Almost all of them have that if they want to have the fastest lap times, because you physically cannot shift as fast as you can with a quick shifter by pulling in the clutch and letting off the gas. So the nice thing with that, even for street guys, when you're leaving the stoplights or you're hitting the entrance ramp for the interstate or wherever, even if you're just out and about, just being able to hold the throttle, not pull on the clutch, not let off the gas, and just pound through the gears with no issues is just a really cool thing to have. So to really show you how a quick shifter works, it's best to do a little video snippet here. Just notice the rider's left hand on the clutch. He never pulls in the clutch, and you'll never hear him let off the gas as he upshifts through the gears. So now he's downshifting. Now watch, left hand never moves. So you're still shifting with your foot, but you never have to pull in the clutch and you never let off the gas. And the other option that you can, accessory that you can plug in your power commander is called the Autotune. And basically what that does is you take this wideband O2 sensor, which is pretty much industry standard on almost every vehicle on the planet, cars, trucks, and then you basically weld that a bung onto your exhaust if it doesn't already have one on there, and then you screw that into it. And the stock exhaust, it has a little tiny bung for your stock O2 sensor, which is a lot smaller. So if you still have your stock exhaust, you would need to weld on the bung that comes with it. And you can get that welded at pretty much any muffler shop or local welder for about probably $20–30. So you would weld that on there on your stock exhaust. Some of the aftermarket exhausts already have it on there. And then you screw in the wideband O2 sensor, and then you run the cord up to the Autotune, and all this is tucked up underneath your seat. Out of the way, we'll show that to you shortly. And then this plugs into the power commander, and what that does is that lets your power commander know what your air fuel ratio is while you're riding around, and it adjusts the map on the fly. So basically it's similar to what you would do if you strap it onto a dyno, except this does it out in the real world. So you get real world temperatures, air pressures, and all that stuff that is totally different out in the real world versus in a enclosed room on a dyno. So it's a little bit more accurate. And the nice thing is it's constantly updating and adjusting. So if you have different gas or your altitude changes, if you go up in the mountains or down to sea level, it's constantly updating and giving you the best map possible and making your bike run as fast and smooth as it can. And we'll show you how to go ahead and install these.
Okay, so first thing you want to do is go ahead and remove your stock O2 sensor and install the wideband O2 sensor that comes with the kit. So if you don't have an 18mm bung, you can take the one that's supplied in the kit and you'll have to weld that onto your exhaust. And then you want to go ahead and route it along the same way that the stock one was, as we've done here. So next you want to connect the cable to the plug. So you push it in, and then you push this gray piece over that once it's in, and you'll hear it click. Next, you want to run your cable up through the frame, just like so, all the way up to the tray. So next you want to run your Autotune module up to underneath your tray, like we've done here. And then you want to take the power cable and run it to the fuse. And then take your ground wire and run it to the battery. And make sure you run the power cable to the turn signal fuse, just like we've done here. So next you're going to take the wires and match them up with the corresponding colors on your Autotune. You're going to wiggle each wire in individually, one at a time, until you see none of the exposed wire. That's how you know it's in there. And then you're going to take your little screwdriver, turn the screw, give it a little tug, and it's good to go. And make sure don't over tighten these little screws. They just need enough tight so that you can give it a little tug and it doesn't come out. So next, go ahead and secure the Autotune with the double set of Velcro that's included, and then that way you can put the tray back on top of it. And before you put the tray back on, go ahead and connect the CAN bus cable to the Autotune. So you go ahead and put your tray back on, and you go ahead then take your other end of your CAN bus cable and plug that into the power commander. Okay, and the next thing you're going to do is connect your power commander to your computer, and you want to go in and turn on your Autotune feature.
Alright, so installing a quick shifter on an R3, you basically need to match up the sensor plus your rod to equal the same length as the rod that you removed originally, whether it's your stock one or an aftermarket one. The distance from here to here needs to match that after you've installed the sensor with your new rod. Basically, it's a shorter version, so that when you screw the sensor on the end of it, it comes the same length. And then you run the sensor wire down here and keep it from getting hooked up on anything, so you just zip tie it to your linkage. And again, if you have standard shift, this elbow would be down here. So you just zip tie it there and then run it up through the stock little holder that's already running there anyways for other cables, and then you're going to run it behind the cover up here and then up along there into the frame up to the power commander. So basically the only difference is if you have standard shift, this would be rotated down here, but still all the same concept. Biggest difference, obviously, besides the linkage, is the sensor. The sensor switches depending on if you go standard shift or GP shift or what kind of rear sets you have. So just take that into account when you're ordering it. You're gonna need the right sensor. But that is the premise of it, is just running it up there into the power commander. And that way when you pound through the gears with your foot, the sensor picks up the shift and cuts the fuel and the spark for a split second, actually 65 milliseconds, and lets you do wide open throttle clutchless shifting with your foot. So your foot is still pushing through the gears, but you don't have to let off the gas, and you don't have to pull in the clutch. You just pound through the gears, just like the MotoGP, World Superbikes, and just about every other road racer on the planet. And you may be thinking, well, what do I need this for? I just ride on the street. Anytime you want to accelerate off the stop or accelerate onto an entrance ramp, or basically just anytime you just want to get on the gas and just pound through the gears, quick shifter is just really nice thing to have. It's a simple, easy install, just takes a few minutes. Just plug it into the power commander, set the parameters, which we'll show you in a minute, and you're good to go. Alright, then you're going to run the cable up through here and into your tray where your power commander is. And then you'll see in the back there's a whole bunch of little screws, and you want to tap into 3 and 4. That's starting from the middle, counting outwards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to run the 2 wires into 3 and 4. Alright, so what you want to do is go ahead and take a little flathead screwdriver and back these out just a little bit. Not a lot. Don't strip them out. If you back them out too far, you'll strip them. Just turn them a little bit loose, and then you'll take the ends, and it's got a little rubber grommet inside there that you got to push through. So don't jam it, just try to wiggle it in there, and then it'll pop right in. Once it pops in, you know you're good. If you try to jam it in there and bend it, then it's going to make it that much harder to try to put it in there. So once you get it in there, keep pressure on it, and go ahead and tighten down that screw for that hole. And again, these are little tiny screws, so don't strip them out. You just need to tighten it snug without stripping it. And then take the other one, again, wiggle it a little bit, and then it'll pop through. If you see more than that little bit of wire exposed, that means you're not in far enough. So just make sure you feel it pop in, and make sure there's almost no wire exposed. And tighten down the screw. Again, don't strip it, just tight. And give one wire at a time a tug to make sure they're nice and secure. If you pull it and it comes loose, and you know you didn't do it right. And that's it. That's how quick and easy it is to install the quick shifter. And then all you do now is you just plug this into your laptop or computer with the USB cable, and all you're doing is activating the quick shifter settings, telling the power commander, hey, I have a quick shifter now connected, and activate the settings, and then you're good to go. Alright, so first you go ahead and connect your computer with the USB cable to the power commander. Just plugs right inside of it. And then you open up your power commander software, which you can download for free off of Power Commander's website. Even if you don't have a power commander and you just want to see what it looks like and play with it, you can do that for free off their website. It's really cool, and it's super easy and user friendly to use. It can be intimidating for people to see maps and fuel injection, all that, but really once you get the hang of this stuff, it's a cakewalk to do anything on a power commander, whether it's set up the fuel, change stuff, set up a quick shifter, auto tune, whatever. Most of the stuff is you plug it in and you go ride. If you get a power commander, you put it on your bike, it's going to be set up for stock, and you just go ride and you're good to go. Once you make exhaust changes and other modifications, you can always go in here and update and change things. But it's really a really neat, cool device. So here's how you set up the auto tune and the quick shifter features for the power commander. So first thing you want to do is pull up the software, as you see here, and what you would do is you would click on get map, and then that's what it's doing, is it's telling the power commander, tell me what's in there, and it goes and it tells you what's in there. So now this is the map that's in our bike, which currently is set up for stock. So if you have a stock bike, this is what your map would look like. And on the left side you'll see a fuel, and below that you'll see ignition. That's your ignition timing changes that the map does. So if it's got a positive number, that means it's advancing the ignition timing. So 2 degree, 4 degree, and so on and so forth. And basically that's what DynoJet did there in Las Vegas on the dyno to make the most horsepower for this bike. After all the testing, they got this to be making the most power for this bike. And then for the fuel, there's all your numbers. So these are additional or less fuel, depending on whether it's a positive or a negative number. If it's a negative, that means you're pulling a little fuel out. If it's positive, they're adding fuel to it. Again, this is how they run on the dyno, they test it, and they find that that makes the most power. So now, once you have that, you want to turn on your features for your quick shifter in your Autotune. And what you'll do is you'll hit Control F for features. Now, if you see here, these are all the features that you can do on a power commander. You can have a map switch up here, and that would be as if you wanted to have multiple maps in your power commander. You can have a switch basically for like high altitude and one for low. So like if you lived at the ocean normal and then you went up to the mountains, you'd switch maps. Or if you normally lived in the mountains and you come down to sea level, it just totally depends. Or you could have a standard map and a race map. It's pretty much limitless, but that's kind of a cool feature. Then you got the quick shifter sensor feature, which we're going to do, and the accelerator pump, which we'll go over later on in a different video. Start up fuel, help you start up your bike easier sometimes if you have issues with that. The rev extend, if you wanted to raise your rev limit, which is kind of nice for maximum horsepower, they'll let you raise the rev limit a little bit. Auto-tune switch, the auto-tune, launch control, yep, you read that right. If you want to, you can actually put launch control on this. And speed limiter. So if you had a child or somebody you wanted to, or a friend who wanted to let them ride it and govern how fast they can go, you could activate that as well. So for today, we're just going to go ahead and do the Autotune and the quick shifter. So the Autotune is real simple. You just click on the Autotune here, and that's it. And now it's going to go ahead, and we'll do that one step at a time. Now it's going to say, over here, you're going to have target, AF, and a trim map. So basically you went from having 2 maps to 4 maps. And the target air fuel is now all this map here is your Autotune is going to be looking and monitoring your air fuel throughout the revs, and it's going to be trying to get your power commander fueling to match up with these air fuel ratios. This is DynoJet's numbers that they found to make this bike run the best. The most optimal, the highest performance, fastest acceleration are these air fuel ratio numbers. So that Autotune that's in your exhaust is basically monitoring the air fuel and then telling the power commander we need to get it to these air fuel ratios. So it's a constant closed loop of monitoring air fuel and changing accordingly until it's exactly where it needs to be. And what's really cool is while you're riding around, you click over here on trims. Right now it's 0 because we haven't ridden around yet, but once you've been riding around, all these zeros are going to become numbers. And what that is those are changes that your Autotune has found to match up with those air fuel ratios. So basically, if you're riding around and somewhere in one of these spots it wants to be at 13.4 but it was actually at 14, it's going to add a little bit more fuel. So after you've been riding, you'll see a bunch of numbers in here, and then what you do is you go and apply those to your map, and now your map is permanently changed to be even better than it was. And it's going to be constantly doing that to the point of where eventually these will stop changing. You'll have almost all zeros, which means your map is just spot on, which is at the end of the day what you want. You want a map that's custom for your bike with your modifications, where you live, your altitude, your temperature, your gas, and all that stuff, all custom just for you. That's what the Autotune's all about. You can always just slap in a map from DynoJet, go out and ride, and you'll be probably pretty good to go. But for the guys that want every little last bit of performance out of their bike, the Autotune is how you get it. Because the Autotune is going to customize that map, which is a great starting point, but it's going to customize it to be specific for your bike where you live. So now that you have that activated for the Autotune, then you're good to go. The AF chart's in there, your trims will be 0, and what you'll do is you go out and ride around for a while, and you can do this as many times or as little times as you want. You go out and ride around, and when you come back, plug it back in. If you want to, you don't have to. It's going to be constantly doing this anyways. And you come back and you check your trim maps, and you'll see all the changes that it's recommending, and then you can go ahead and apply those to your map to permanently change it to a more specific for your bike map. So that's for the Autotune. And then for the Quick Shifter, again, we'll hit Function F, or Control F, sorry. And then for the Quick Shifter, we'll click that on, and we'll hit Configure. And then basically you've got your gear dependent, you've got normally open, which is all good. You got 3000, which is basically saying that it's not going to activate unless you're over 3000 RPM, which is good. Shift intervals 250, which is good. Kills fuel and ignition, which is good. And then your milliseconds. And each one of them is 65 milliseconds. So pretty much, this is good to go. I know it seems a little daunting. Wow, there's a whole bunch of settings. But DynoJet doesn't just throw you to the wolves. This is stuff that they have found over the years, 20 plus years of doing this, that works the best. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect for everybody. You can always go in here and tweak it if you want to. But 99% of you will just leave it, hit OK, and you're good. And then you go ahead and hit Send Map. And now everything is in your power commander. The Autotune's activated, your Quick Shifter's activated, everything's ready to go, and now you can just go out and enjoy yourself. And again, all this stuff it can seem daunting if you've never done it before, but it really is user friendly, and DynoJet really takes a lot of time to set 99% of it up, so that all you got to do is just activate the stuff and then go out and ride. There isn't a whole lot of guessing involved because DynoJet does all that for you. So if you have any other questions or comments, just give us a call, send us an email, Facebook us, whatever way you want to send some smoke signals, and we'll get you taken care of.